Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Angela Antalon, Council Members Yaneli Martinez, Bob White, and Drew Tipton, Planning Commissioners Stephanie Garcia, Tina Martinez, Ernie Gallardo, Bob Rakitas, and Cynthia Zavala, City Attorney Travis Cochran, and City Manager Paul Wood. I'd also like to welcome our state and regional elected officials, military leaders, local tribal leaders, and our outstanding City of Greenfield employees. My fellow residents of Greenfield, this is the first Greenfield State of the City address that I have made, and it could not come at a more important time. Our city, nation, and the world is recovering from 2 years of COVID pandemic that may have weakened our bodies, but it hasn't weakened our minds, spirit, or resolve. The damage that has been done to our families, our friends, and our mental well-being will take time to heal, but with a positive outlook and cooperation, our community will heal and move forward. From early 2020 through the present, we have had to address increasing COVID-19 cases, a housing and homelessness crisis, threats of a budget emergency due to the pandemic, aging city infrastructure, broken revenue models, and an uncertain national economy. Through it all, both city staff and the community has held their heads high, addressed our issues as they rose, and morale has been high with everyone. Of course, I wish this year I could deliver this address to you in person with the news that most of our issues were behind us. I am able to report that, yes, we've made a lot of progress on the issues I've just mentioned, as well as many more. However, we still find ourselves dealing with this stubborn pandemic. And as long as we need to accommodate it, we will. I am confident that the next State of the City address will be live as it should be. Throughout the COVID pandemic, the city has done everything it can to help its residents cope. It has provided locations for low-cost vaccination locations and have passed on as much information as we possibly could. Along with helping the residents, city staff has allowed workers to work from home when available in order to keep safety levels as high as possible, and also to help take care of their children if their children were out of school. The National Guard, along with the Monterey County Food Bank, started weekly food handouts to all those in need shortly after the COVID pandemic started. When Monterey County Food Bank needed to cut back to every other week, Greenfield City staff volunteered to man the distribution so that food could continue to be distributed every week. They have voluntarily continued to do this for the past 2 years. The federal government has provided vast amounts of funding to local and state agencies over the past 2 years related to COVID progress to enhance local economies. This funding comes not only in the form of direct distribution, ARPA, but also in the form of pass-through grants and loans that are available to government agencies. City staff, to leverage its funding, has prioritized the acquisition of these grant and loan funds by contracting with a very experienced grant writing team in Sacramento. This team has their finger on the pulse of the funds to be distributed and redistributed, and they're working in Greenfield's best interest to maximize the amount of federal funds acquired. To date, city staff has teamed with these grant writers to apply for grants to pay for emergency generators at city locations throughout the city, parks, and recreation grants to help pay for a dog park or two. Greenfield has also applied for a very important grant through the United Way on our own. Seeing the need for more community outreach brought on by the COVID pandemic, city staff established a new department called Community Outreach. Some of the traditional community outreach expenditures, such as citywide events and contributions to nonprofits, will be the responsibility of this new department. But this new department will also play a very big part in securing grant funds for a variety of community-centric projects. The United Way has been the conduit chosen for rent and utility payment relief due to the COVID pandemic. City staff applied for, secured, and is administering the rent and utility payment relief program for Greenfield. This program has been in effect for over a year and has directly distributed over $850,000 to community members to help pay for past due and future rent and utility expenses. This program will continue until December 2022. Equally foundational to our quality of life is living up to our obligation to keep residents of Greenfield safe. Of course, COVID-19 has added a profound burden on that front as well, and we're so grateful to all public safety personnel who, at even greater risk to their own lives than usual, never faltered in their commitment to our residents. Our police officers and firefighters, along with countywide ambulance workers and paramedics, have been handling an incredible surge in emergency calls over the past 2 years, and they have made us proud. 3 years ago, the city established a traffic committee that is comprised of public works representatives, police department representatives, school district representatives, and a member of the public. The intent of this committee has always been to improve traffic safety and to help communicate issues that are encountered when attempting to change rules and regulations related to traffic. This committee has been instrumental in beefing up traffic regulations and safety infrastructure around schools, El Camino Real, and other parts of the city. 2 years ago, they were instrumental in commissioning a traffic study that changed the speed limits in a variety of places around town that helps keep drivers and pedestrians safe. Additionally, you may have noticed the ADA infrastructure has been installed to assist those with disabilities navigate traffic. The talking street light at ECR and Oak is a great example of this. There are also a variety of new bump outs at numerous schools that assist in slowing traffic and keeping our young ones as well as adults safe. The traffic committee will continue to search for ways to help make the public safer related to traffic and are currently working with TAMSI and their Safe Routes to Schools program to do just that. Also in the works are crosswalks on Walnut Avenue that are to assist those shopping at the Santa Lucia Shopping Center, as well as the Walnut Avenue specific plan area. Also related to traffic, the police department 2 years ago purchased a speed trailer that can monitor and track vehicle speeds to assist us in doing our own traffic studies, as well as help detour speeders in real time. For many years, parking has been a very difficult issue to address in Greenfield. The rapid development of residential housing over the past 20 years and the design of these homes and their streets have placed a priority on the conservation of space. As such, many streets are narrow and do not allow for parking. As the city grows and as more people move into these homes due to the California-wide housing shortage, the parking shortage has become extreme. The current city council has placed a priority on addressing the parking issue. With the help of police department, the community development department, the building official, and the fire department, city staff is developing changes to the Greenfield municipal code that will address not only the parking issues, but the overcrowding in residential areas as well. There is not an easy solution to this. The problem has many compounding factors. The number of people that want to live in Greenfield, the narrowness of the streets, and the number of people that have been allowed to live in each dwelling, etc. This is a long-term problem that will require a long-term solution. It is an issue that is many years in the making, and it will take a while to fix, but we are determined to do just that. Last year, city staff applied for a 3-year grant that would help pay for a regional youth diversion program and fund a school resource officer at Greenfield High School. We received a 3-year grant in an amount in excess of $800,000. These funds are being used for a diversion program for individuals at the high school and middle school that are identified as qualified candidates for the program. The Sun Street Center implements the program and exposes the youth to positive role models, activities, and situations that will hopefully divert the individuals from going down the wrong path in life. This program has been very successful in the past and is currently helping a variety of South County youth and helping them turn their lives around. The purchase of our citywide surveillance camera systems has assisted in the apprehension of criminals that might otherwise have not been captured. Also, the use of the police department's body-worn camera system has had a big impact to our officers' ability to minimize the city's liability when pursuing the bad guys. Both of these camera systems help emphasize both the difficulty that police officers encounter in their daily jobs, as well as the very appropriate methods and tactics that are used in apprehending criminals. Is it always 100% perfect? Obviously not. And when it isn't, we have ample evidence of what went wrong and how. These tools are indispensable to keeping Greenfield safe. You may have noticed that during the last several months, the Greenfield Police Department has been involved in several high-profile criminal pursuits, search warrants, and arrests. They are showing how serious they are about deterring criminal behavior. They are working diligently with regional and national organizations, the Monterey County Sheriff's Office, the Monterey County District Attorney's Office, the DEA, Homeland Security, FBI, and all of the Monterey County Police Departments, whether or not they are in the Salinas Valley. We must get illegal guns off the street. We must disrupt the gang violence taking innocent lives. And those who commit crimes against the people of this city must be held accountable. This same police department also has wonderful posts showing how its members are reaching out to the community organizations to help their efforts in engaging our youth in fun activities to better bond with our community and to allow the community to better understand who they are. This is who we are in Greenfield. We do not seek to polarize, we seek to unify. Even when we disagree or try to fix long-standing issues, we work together. This is evident in every aspect of city operations. No one is perfect, but we are striving to continue to unify this community. So, I will be clear, we will continue to provide our police department the resources they need to keep you and your family safe and respond to crime and hold criminals accountable. We'll continue to pay them competitive wages, ensure they receive the best training and experience, and can retire with dignity. And most of all, we'll make sure they protect every resident of Greenfield. Everyone should be able to dial 911 and have an officer show up quickly and give you the help you need. This help should come without excessive use or force, racial profiling, or any abuse by the men and women who are sworn to protect and serve. A great city can fully fund and support its law enforcement officers while also ensuring they honor their oath. We can and will strike the balance between protecting our residents and respecting their civil rights and civil liberties. 5 years ago, the city did not have a fire department. The fire district was in financial straits and the firefighters were grossly underpaid. Today we have a fire department made up of the same firefighters that have served us for so long in the Greenfield Fire District. They are among the most well-trained in the county and are compensated very fairly. The city has invested greatly in this department in order to keep its residents safe. We have purchased a new fire engine, invested in new fire equipment, extensive training, and are constantly looking for ways to improve the service we provide to Greenfield and the surrounding areas. In fact, to highlight the leadership of our city employees are showing, our own Fire Chief Jim Langborg has been named the chair of the Monterey County Emergency Care Committee. Our city manager has been named vice chair for fiscal year 2022-23. That speaks to the trust that the public safety community in Monterey County has in Greenfield's program. The city is working with the state on operational plans and financing to help Greenfield secure a much more modern wastewater facility that will serve us for decades to come. Sewer systems for even small cities like us are not cheap. It is expected to cost between $50 and $60 million. Staff is working with the state to obtain grant funding for as much as we can get. We may have to raise utility rates to get the grants, but it's more than a fair trade-off. The funding for transit, streets, and roads is varied, and the solutions are normally very costly. When I talk about transit, I am talking about bus service, bike paths and lanes, road improvement, bridges, off-ramps, and things like that. The sources of funding are as varied as the type of infrastructure listed above. The City Council gets calls all the time about the conditions of our roads, and city staff works hard to maintain them and repair them quickly. But I'll be honest with you, these improvements are expensive and they take time. But we are doing everything we can to streamline these projects to get them done as quickly as possible. With the hiring of a new full-time public works director, something the city has not had in over 10 years, attention to the city streets as well as the entire transit system serving Greenfield will be appropriately attended to. Projects such as an annual streets improvement plan, a coordinated plan to speed measure X funds, a cohesive streets and storm drain strategy, and routine repairs, maintenance, painting, and signage updates will all be attended to in an appropriate manner. This year, working with MST, Greenfield will be modifying its bus service by eliminating the on-call service the MST has provided for the past several years and replacing it with a continuous circular bus route that will cover the city multiple times per day. We will be adding bus stops and have a regular route that will include stops at the businesses in the Walnut Avenue specific plan area, near many of the schools, El Camino Real, and in areas that will allow residents to catch regional bus routes to other cities in the Salinas Valley. Our public infrastructure is the foundation for a high quality of life, and improving our core system is a top priority. Homelessness is an issue that is very difficult to address. The homeless are comprised of people who don't have homes for a variety of different reasons. The reasons include losing gainful employment, ill health, and mental health problems. There is also a contingent of the homeless that do not have a home by choice. Because of the wide variety of reasons for people being homeless, there are a multitude of potential solutions, although homelessness impacts all areas, including incorporated and unincorporated areas. It is traditionally the domain of the county to address homelessness issues. Because of the ever-increasing number of homeless in California, many cities are doing what they can to implement programs to assist the counties. Greenfield is no exception. Greenfield City staff has assisted in the county and nonprofits in the annual homeless point-in-time count, as well as having worked with local nonprofits and faith-based organizations to address shelter and food needs throughout the year. During my first year in office, I have deployed a more compassionate, person-centered approach to our homeless residents, offering them shelter and services while also carrying out our responsibility to enforce our city laws. But folks, here's where I want to level with you. While the complaints about homelessness are common, the proposed solutions for it are wildly divergent and frequently contradictory. At one end of the spectrum are residents demanding we criminalize homelessness. On the other are those that are against any enforcement of our laws against setting up camp on the sidewalk. It's this kind of conflict that has historically paralyzed leaders on this crisis. It saddens me to say that there are people our teams will never be able to reach, and we need to be honest about that. One of our society's most egregious failings is neglecting to care for people suffering from severe mental illness. The problem has been made worse by the explosion of opioids, fentanyl, and methamphetamine on our streets. The result has been decades of homelessness, with jails and emergency rooms becoming de facto housing for those who are too mentally ill to take care of themselves. Homelessness is made more difficult by the housing crisis we are experiencing, a shortage created over many decades as we failed to build to accommodate our growth. The lack of affordable housing is pandemic in California. In the Salinas Valley is no different. The California RHNA guidelines for providing affordable housing is a testament to that. RHNA is a set of guidelines that each jurisdiction in California must follow to ensure a proper amount of affordable housing throughout California. You may have noticed the amount of residential development occurring in Greenfield. Much of that is affordable housing. In fact, Greenfield is one of the top agencies in the Tri-County area in providing affordable housing in accordance with RHNA. Along with the affordable component, the city is also undergoing development at the market rate level. The demand for market rate homes is being driven by the need of local police, fire, teachers, and other young mid-market individuals that would like to live in Greenfield as a personal lifestyle choice, but that don't qualify for low-income housing. The shortage of housing statewide disrupts the long-term planning of all cities. Housing plans that are normally developed over the long range for the long range are increasingly being antiquated many years sooner than expected. In Greenfield, city staff will start the modification of these plans later in 2022. As the state of California finds itself grappling with housing shortages in all income ranges, the state legislature has passed new requirements and has changed long-standing rules and regulations that they require local jurisdictions to follow. These changes need to be made to documents that sometimes take years to develop by the city, and those changes will necessarily modify how the city functions and grows. The rapid growth in housing demand also requires that the city expand its infrastructure and city services. This infrastructure includes water services, wastewater services, streets and roads, schools, parks, police, and other public safety services, electrical services, and many other essential services. These services not only are expensive to develop and maintain, but in many cases, they take years to develop. For example, the waiting time to get new electrical services for larger developments is around 2 years. The city of Greenfield has far outperformed most local agencies in Monterey County in the sheer number of housing units it has produced over the past RHNA cycle, Cycle 5. Cycle 5 ends in 2023. Even though Cycle 5 ends in 2023, the current number of housing units that potentially could be built between now and the end of 2023 is actually quite large, certainly in the middle hundreds. Projects that are underway now include the Miramonte development, Vintage Meadows Phase 2, Walnut Grove Phases 2 and 3, Greenfield Commons, Magnolia Senior Apartments, and the Woodridge condominium development. These units will not only be low income, but also market rate units, something for everybody. The building of an economic development department is crucial for the sustainability of any local agency. The Economic Development Department is responsible for helping the business community expand, provide additional services to residents, and add to the city revenue base by paying taxes. For a city to grow and develop revenues in excess of current inflation rate, it must continually be developing its economic assets. While the city of Greenfield does not currently have an economic development department, it does have a department head who has been a director of an EDD and has had his mindset to develop the economy of the city. One of the first things that this director tackled when he arrived at the city was to finish the establishment of the cannabis industry in Greenfield. It's no secret that the introduction of the cannabis industry into Greenfield has played a significant part in making sure the city's coffers are full. Next on the agenda for the EDD is the reestablishment of the Greenfield Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is integral to the business community as a point of leadership that is not the city government to direct customers to shop locally. It is the city's intent to seed the new Chamber of Commerce with grants to do so many things. These grants potentially could come from the American Recovery Plan Act, ARPA, part of the money that the feds have sent to local agencies to help recover from the pandemic. This money could be used to individual businesses, to the outsides of businesses, purchase new awnings or signage, develop appropriate landscaping around their businesses, etc. The new Chamber of Commerce will also be integral in the development of the El Camino Real Business District remodel. Who better to direct the design and feature set than the businesses themselves? 3 years ago, Greenfield got its first Starbucks and Carl's Jr. The development that is going on in the Walnut Area Specific Plan currently includes a hotel and possibly a second hotel and a travel center with 3 restaurants. Along with this commercial development, the developer is also contemplating more residential housing on the south side of the project area on Apple Avenue. 4 years ago, Greenfield did not have a recreation department. Our recreation activities were contracted out to a third-party provider that has all changed. 4 years ago, we hired a recreation coordinator to start developing programs that would serve a broad swath of the residents of Greenfield. It has been a huge success. We now have a wide range of sports recreation programs for youth and adults as well as an ever-widening range of educational and cultural programs for youth and adults. Our recreation staff is increasing, and our recreation leadership is working with recreation departments in other South County cities to have regional leagues for things like girls flag football. One of the huge successes over the past 2 years has been the acquisition of an $8.5 million grant from California Parks and Recreation Department to construct a new community center in Greenfield. This summer will see the culmination of the purchase of the park property and the subsequent design of the park property. A recent development is that the Recreation Department and the Greenfield Science Workshop teamed up to apply for California State Parks Outdoor Equity Grant and got it. This grant is worth over $700,000 over the next 3 years. The Science Workshop and Recreation Department are currently putting together recreation programs such as rafting trips, skiing trips, boating trips, overnight hikes, and camping, not only for youth, but also for families. It should be fantastic. COVID-19 has changed our city and all other cities and counties in many ways. For our community, the pandemic highlighted our difficulty in educating our children remotely, taking care of our children if we were unable to work, and even if we had childcare, there was much difficulty in getting an education remotely. In response to this, the federal government showered the nation with trillions of dollars to assist localities in their recoveries. As this money became available, Greenfield City Council and city staff established a community outreach department to identify touch points with the community and to fund solutions that would help in our community's recovery. We started with assisting the National Guard in weekly food bank handouts. When the National Guard withdrew as the pandemic wore on, city staff found our own volunteers to assist with the food distribution. Additionally, we have hired a team of professional grant writers to help with our community's recovery, as I have discussed earlier. The Community Outreach Department is currently working on developing a variety of special interest communities, senior citizens committee, youth committee, etc., to tap into their express needs and better serve our community. I realize the report I've given you tonight is likely not what you expected, but this is not the time for telling you what you want to hear. It's about telling you what you need to know. And what you need to know is that the road ahead is full of hard work. But I've never been afraid of hard work, and neither is our city. I'm as hopeful and optimistic as I've ever been because I do believe Greenfield is on its way to bigger things. I ran for this office on the promise of revigorating Greenfield with a jolt of energy, fostering a culture of yes that will help us ascend to our rightful place as a great city. We can see it unfolding already with transformational projects across our city, large and small. So while we have daunting work ahead of us, we can see the fruits of our labor all around us. We are ready to responsibly put the COVID-19 pandemic behind us, ready to provide homes and services for those who are unsheltered and struggling, ready to build back our economy stronger than ever, ready to ensure our streets, pipes, and public facilities, ready to fight the housing crisis and the climate crisis with everything we've got, ready to build equity into everything we do and make Greenfield a place where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. This is why I have so much faith in our ability to drive change on the major issues I outlined tonight. Because amid the darkest of times and under the most difficult circumstances, we've seen a challenge stepped up, come together, and we triumphed. This says to me that we can and will do it again. Our challenges are great. The road ahead is long, and there is much work to do. But Greenfield, we are ready. Thank you. May God bless you, and may God bless our great city. Good night.